Hello, it's Martin from Wisely Automotive. As you can probably see, I am stood right next to our wall of BMW i3 wheels. And that's because we will be discussing everything to know about the wheels and the tires for both the summer and the winter seasons for the i3. It's very often a passionately discussed topic on all the i3 forums, but if you look at the official BMW brochures and the configurator, you really need to dig deep to find all the important information. So we will try to summarize everything in here, and if you still have any questions, leave them in the comments. Before I dig into all the information, let me explain some of the terms so you know what I'm talking about. Let me use this wheel, which I stole from one of our sets for demonstration, starting with the alloy itself. On the inside there are some numbers to take note of. This specific example is a 5J19H2, so let's take this apart one by one. The 5 is the nominal width of the wheel, so in this case 5 inches. All passenger cars these days sit on J wheels, so that's not something to worry about, but if you are interested, is the tire bead profile, or in other words, the shape of the edge of the wheel which the tire hooks onto. 19 is the alloy diameter, so in this case 19 inches. And H2, again, not something to worry about, but is the wheel hump, which describes how rigid the wheel is. The IS value below all the other numbers, more often expressed as an ET, is the offset in millimeters from the center line, which determines how far out the wheel sticks out from the wheel arch. Moving on to the tire, this Bridgestone is a 155/70R19. The first number is the width of the tire, so in this case 155 millimeters. 70 is the height of the sidewall, but crucially it is not expressed in millimeters but as an aspect ratio. So in this specific example it's 70% of 155, which works out to about 108 millimeters. And the last number designates the inner diameter of the tire, in this case meaning it's designed to go on top of a 19-inch wheel. The last two terms which get thrown around a lot are diamond cut finish and staggered setup. A very good example of what a diamond cut finish is on these 428 style wheels. It refers to the way the two-tone finish is manufactured. First, the entire wheel is painted black, then the face is polished, and the whole thing is covered in clear coat to make sure that the entire wheel is sealed against corrosion. Obviously that's the theory, but the wheels are exposed to a lot of dirt and stone chips on the roads, so as soon as the clear coat is compromised, corrosion can start to form, and we often see it around the BMW logo or where any previous wheel scuffs were. And lastly, the staggered setup means that in case of a rear-wheel drive car like the i3, the front wheels are narrower than the rear wheels, the logic being that there is more grip to put the power down on the powered axle. So with all of that out of the way, let's look at how everything applies to these i3 wheels. The first one being the 427 style. These are the wheels which came as standard on the earlier i3s and are actually the most challenging and confusing set. Visually, they are the only non-diamond cut option, so if you want to have the most kind of durable and easy to repair wheel, that's the one to go for. If you don't like the plain look, you can always get them painted in, for example, gloss or matte black. In fact, we have done just that with one of our stock cars, so I will leave a link to that in the card above. Make sure to check that video out if you are interested. The reason why I said that these wheels are confusing is because the dimensions of them differ based on which i3 drivetrain you have. The BEVs, so fully electric vehicles without the range extender, come with a square setup, meaning the front and rear wheels are the same, taking the same tires at 155 millimeters wide. But because the range extender is mounted directly over the rear axle, really bringing a lot of weight into that area, BMW has decided to give all range extender cars slightly wider wheels in the back. So even if you go for the base setup, a range extender should come with 5.5J wheels in the back, which take 175 millimeter tires. Moving up the range, we have got the 428 and 429 style wheels. Both of these, as you can see, have the two-tone diamond cut finish. And especially the 428s are probably the most popular option. To keep the car competitive in the market, BMW made the 429s standard later on and dropped the 427s from the configurator entirely. The nice thing about these is that the dimensions are same across the entire range. So a 5J wheel on the front axle with a 155mm tire and a 5.5J with 175 tires on the rear, always. And last is the only 20-inch wheel option for the non-S i3, the 430 wheel style. Width-wise, they are the same as the other diamond cut options, so 5J in the front, 5.5J in the rear. The only difference being that because it's a larger alloy wheel, you've got a lower profile tire to keep the same overall diameter, which some people are worried about could impact ride comfort, but honestly, from our experience, the difference is very, very small, and to notice anything, you really need to be looking for it and driving the cars with the different wheels back to back. No i3S wheels on the wall itself, so I will use this one, which we prepped just recently. You only really have one wheel option, and that is the 431 style, just finished in two different ways. On this particular car, there are the fully jet black wheels, which are ironically a paid option, despite being cheaper to manufacture than the standard diamond cut wheels, which have the two-tone finish. Dimensions-wise, in terms of diameter, 20 inches across, so the same as the 430s, but the width and the offset are slightly different. 175mm tires in the front and 195mm in the rear. This is essentially the reason why the i3S had to get these wheel arch extenders on the side to make sure that the wheels are still sitting within the wheel arch. So if you try to put the 430 wheels onto an i3S, they will be a bit more recessed, and the other way around, which is very important, don't put i3S wheels onto a non-S i3 because they will protrude from the body of the car. That's essentially half of the topic covered, because all of these cars come on summer tires when new from the factory. But what about winter driving? This is where we see a lot of mistakes happen, so let me try to go nice and slow. For a non-S i3, the official BMW recommended winter tire set comprises of 155 19-inch tires in the front and back, so a square setup. The only full set of alloys you can get in exactly those dimensions is the set of 427s which come on a fully electric i3. That means that in any other scenario, be it a 427 wheel set on a range extender or any of the other wheel designs on any i3 regardless of drivetrain, you will need to at least get a new set of rear alloys if you want to go with the official square winter setup, or at that point you might as well just get a full set of square 427s with winter tires on them all the time, and you just swap the wheels when you need to. And that's in fact the kit BMW sells on their website as an accessory. If you insist on keeping the same set of rims for summer and winter and just swapping the tires, the one manufacturer which does provide winter tires in the two different dimensions from the front and back is Nankang, but with it being a Chinese manufacturer and BMW recommending a square setup instead of a staggered setup, many people are hesitant to go down that route, even though it's the setup we have on our i3 at home in Slovakia and it has survived the snow just fine. Regarding the i3S, there is a special winter set for those as well. It consists of the 428 style wheels in jet black, but you can't just take any 428s because it's again a squared setup, so they take the same winter tire as on the non-S i3, but they are offset a bit further out to make sure that they look alright on the i3S with the wider wheel arches. Other than the winter tires, there are other questions which come up very frequently, so I compiled a list and let me run through it. Firstly, the star rating. All the Bridgestones have a little star icon on the sidewall, but this only means that it is an officially recommended BMW tire. We, for example, supply these Michelins, and they do not have the star, but the dimensions fits perfectly. And from our experience, we would in fact say they ride a bit quieter, a bit more comfortable, and have more tread. Next up are the i3 tires, run flats, and the answer is no. If you're not familiar, a run flat tire has reinforced sidewalls, so when you get a puncture or a flat tire, you can still continue driving at a slower speed and make it to the nearest repair center and get the tire fixed or swapped out. Said reinforcement in the sidewall adds weight though, and it would impact on both comfort and efficiency. So with the i3 being BMW's first fully electric car and them trying to squeeze out as much range of the battery as possible, they decided to drop the option, hence why all the i3s come with a tire repair kit in the front boot. Next up, TPMS or tire pressure monitoring sensors. Regardless of which design you go for, each wheel comes with a TPMS sensor in it. This means that the car has very accurate information about tire pressures, which you can check in the iDrive infotainment system. So if you experience a puncture, the car will let you know which wheel is of concern and the exact tire pressure. It's important to note that for the TPMS sensors to be active, the car needs to be moving. So obviously, if you walk up to a car and see that one of the tires is low, get some air in it before you start driving. Next up is whether you can fit slightly smaller or bigger tires on the wheel, because you heard that some of your friends have done it and it's possible. And yes, it is theoretically possible, but we would highly advise against that. The simple reason being that obviously the wheel is designed with a specific tire dimension in mind, but even beyond that, in terms of the legality, God forbid if you got into an accident with mismatched alloys and tires, you can most likely say goodbye to any kind of payout from the insurance company. On a similar topic is mixing of tires across axles. Hopefully I don't need to say that putting a different tire on the left and right side on the same axle is a stupid idea and you should not do it. But there's a bit more room for debate between the front and rear axle. So for example, having the Bridgestones on the front and Michelins on the rear. It's again one of those things which is technically speaking possible and okay. In fact, we have seen cars from BMW leasing with a different set of tires on the front axle than the rear. Tesla has been now caught doing a similar thing because of the supply shortages. But it really is not ideal. The stability and ABS systems assume that the tires are the same across all wheels, which shouldn't really come into play in everyday driving. But if you get into a situation where you really need to push the car to the limit, the car could become less controllable than expected. The last point I want to address is longevity, because we often see articles online claiming how EV tires have a much shorter lifespan compared to regular tires for combustion engine cars. There may be a tiny bit of truth to it, but it's a very complicated comparison because it includes a ton of variables. And as always, the biggest one is your driving style. So if you drive quite aggressively and you love the instant torque of the EV drivetrain, obviously you can't beat the rules of physics, you are going to wear out the tires faster. But please, if you drive the same as your previous car, don't get worried thinking that you will need to replace the tires twice as often or something crazy like that. And I think that's about it for today. I know it's not the most exciting topic, but the information is quite crucial when you are buying new tires. So I hope this all helped out and made sense. Before you go, I moved the black i3s forward to show you this wheel. It may look like a 427 wheel at the first glance, but it's a bit different. So have a very good look and have a guess in the comments on what exactly is the story behind it. Because it's quite a unique thing which you can't just go out and buy. But that's enough with the hints. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next video.